Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Roberts. We begin tonight in northern Quebec, where the Nunavik village of Gagnoksuk has lost 2 members of its community. The Council of Gagnoksuk says 2 adults were attempting to cross a river on Saturday to participate in a fishing derby when they fell through thin ice. The Kativik Regional Government, Nunavik Police, and search and rescue crews from across Nunavik joined the search. The council says they had to suspend operations due to unstable conditions. They did not find any survivors. They're asking people to stay away from the accident site and to take caution when traveling on the land, especially during the spring thaw. A long-awaited public apology for a culture camp raid is finally coming, according to the chief of the Lutsoke Dene First Nation. Northwest Territories Premier R.J. Simpson is scheduled to visit the community next month. The CBC's Devin Tredinnick has the details.
After years of demanding an in-person apology, the Lutsoke Dene First Nation believes they might finally be getting one. In 2022, the NWT government sent wildlife enforcement officers to an on-the-land culture camp. It was to investigate alleged caribou hunting infractions. But the Lutsoke Dene First Nation has always described it as a forceful invasion. Wildlife officers spent hours searching family tents and teepees. The First Nation says the event left children in tears and elders traumatized. James Marlowe was re-elected as chief last week. He says a face-to-face apology is a chance for a new beginning.
He has no issues in chartering an aircraft that can take him here, participate in a healing event, reconciliation with the people of Lutsoke for what had happened at the Tillery Lake. If he does that, we can both begin to heal and work with one another and reconcile.
The Premier's office says that kind of information is confidential and would not confirm or deny an apology. But it did say Premier R.J. Simpson would be in the community in July for the Acacio Annual General Assembly. Devin Tredinnick, CBC News, Yellowknife.
The National Representative for Inuit in Canada has released its poverty reduction strategy. Inuit Tapiri Kanatami's strategy aims to minimize socioeconomic gaps between Inuit and non-Indigenous Canadians. Liam Baker has more.
One of the things that I think needs to be stated over and over, and what we need to understand, is that some of the poorest people in our country are paying the most for food.
According to Inuit Tapiri Kanatami, 41% of Inuit families are living below the poverty line, compared to 11% of Canadians overall. This statistic is one of many informing the organization's latest poverty reduction strategy.
We know that people want to be contributing members of society. They want to have connections with family. They want to be able to teach the things that they know so that there is intergenerational succession of Inuit knowledge, but also of happiness, of love, and also of success.
The reduction strategy is focused on 3 key principles: increasing Inuit economic participation, bringing cost of living and income security across Inuit Nunavut in line with the rest of Canada, and improving Inuit-centered social services and community infrastructure. The strategy also includes a market basket measure for Inuit Nunavut specifically.
Within that measure, there are things that you wouldn't find in the South, such as costs in operation and maintenance for skidoos or for ATVs or for boats, which may be luxury items for people in southern Canada, but are essential for us to be able to access our traditional activities on the land.
At the unveiling in Ottawa, OBID welcomed the opportunity to work with the Government of Canada.
As a government, we look forward to reviewing its findings and continuing to work in partnership with Inuit as we address shared priorities and support strong, healthy, and thriving communities across Inuit Nunavut.
ITK says the strategy's importance is currently heightened by the interest in Arctic development. OBID says the organization is currently working with the federal government to revise national poverty strategies, including the Northern Nutrition Program, to meet Inuit-specific needs. Liam Baker, CBC News, Ottawa.
BC health officials say the Yukon resident who fell ill with hantavirus on a cruise ship has recovered and is out of the hospital. The person got the virus while on board the MV Hondius earlier this spring during its voyage from Argentina to Antarctica. In North America, people are usually infected with the virus after inhaling contaminated residue from rodent droppings. But health experts believe the Andes strain, which was involved in the MV Hondius outbreak, can be transmitted between people in rare cases that involve prolonged close contact. 3 other Canadians who were on the ship are isolating and are showing no symptoms. The Yukon Employees Union is speaking out about contract negotiations with the Yukon government. The union says more than half of its members have been without a contract for more than 17 months.
It is a lot of members. It's the entire Yukon that's in play here. And when we're hearing from especially members in communities about the delays on the contract negotiation and what this means to them and the impacts on their life as they're watching their bills spike, we're getting some pretty tense feedback from the membership.
The union said on Friday that talks broke down after it rejected a contract offer from the government. The union's president says every community in the Yukon will be affected by these negotiations. YEU operates under the Public Service Alliance of Canada. Its regional executive vice president for the North says there's a lot at stake.
What we know about this round of bargaining is that it's going to have a lasting impact on not only workers amongst the bargaining units, workers that work for Yukon government, but also for people who are receiving the services. So PSAC North is here to support the work of the bargaining team. We're here to support our membership through this round of bargaining, and we're going to continue to work in collaboration with the Yukon Employees Union to ensure that we see and reach a deal that the bargaining team is prepared to present to the membership and that the membership is comfortable to accept.
In a statement to CBC News, the Public Service Commission said it looks forward to continued talks in the hope of reaching a fair agreement for YG employees and all Yukoners. Yellowknife is the latest Canadian city to be included in a national RCMP initiative aimed at collecting race-based data. RCMP say the program is designed to identify and address systematic racism in policing. Yellowknife's Black Advocacy Coalition is welcoming the expansion. The president of the coalition says without this data, it's difficult to know how RCMP are responding to racialized residents. He says he wants the findings to shape a community action plan that helps racialized residents understand their rights when dealing with law enforcement.
I want some kind of a community action plan to come out of this so that we're able to have guided steps to what we're trying to achieve with this process, including race-based data collection. We're also holding ourselves accountable to ourselves, but also to the public. And there's really some set goals that can improve community liaison and community relationship with all racialized peoples living across the territory. So that's really what I'd like to see come out of this, is a concrete plan and steps to work towards something that is more sustainable.
NWT RCMP Chief Superintendent Dyson Smith says the program was needed. He adds that Yellowknife residents can expect police officers to ask more clarifying questions when interacting with them. Critical firefighting equipment for West Dawson, Yukon is lying unused. West Dawson is cut off from Dawson City during breakup and freeze up. The gear was supposed to help in an emergency, and Chris McIntyre explains why it can't for now.
There are 2 ways for emergency responders to get across the Yukon River to West Dawson. By ferry from May to October, a trip that's about 5 minutes, and in the winter it's by ice bridge. When the river freezes in the fall and when the ice melts in the spring, the only way across is by helicopter. When there's an emergency, every second counts. Example being the latest fire in town that destroyed the historic Westminster Hotel. Despite the fire hall being only a few blocks away, the crew's quick response wasn't enough to save the building. This is why the people of West Dawson formed a group. The West Side Association organized to get equipment so people can respond to fires on the west side of the river quickly. The firefighting equipment is on skids. They include 2 300-gallon water tanks, hoses, and a pump. Everything needed to fight fires until professional crews can arrive. But according to the association's spokesperson, the group is missing an important piece of equipment.
Yeah, they're called wheels. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. We've been given a couple of firefighting skids by Global Medic through the Dawson City Fire Department, which has been amazing in terms of supporting our efforts to help our community stay safe. And now we have these firefighting skids, but we have no way to move them around.
The skids are collecting cobwebs. One is sitting at the Dawson City Fire Hall, and the other at a home in West Dawson. Curtis says they put the cart before the horse.
These units came to us, they were offered, and so we're West Dawsonites, and we're ready and willing to accept any sort of donation that will help us equip ourselves and provide us with the ability to help look after ourselves when necessary, when we're cut off.
Dawson's Fire Chief Mike Massery spearheaded getting the skids. He says his department has an agreement with the Fire Marshal's office to include coverage for West Dawson in exchange for equipment. He's calling on the Fire Marshal's office for a truck.
During the where there's no ice bridge or no ferry taking us across, we can't get there. But with these two skid units, they would have enough to at least protect and contain the fire to wherever it started.
The Yukon's Fire Marshal's office met with members of the association and the fire department last week. The fire marshal says her office wasn't a part of the planning, so there are no trucks available at the moment. This means that if the association cannot secure a way to haul the skids, they're going to stay where they are. And this is unfortunate, according to Curtis, because we're in fire season, and right now is critical to be able to respond to fires quickly. Chris McIntyre, CBC News, Dawson City.
Nunavut has joined a national firefighting network. The territory is now a member of the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre. As a member, Nunavut is connected to a national network of wildfire agencies. The territory's Minister of Community Services says, although Nunavut is above the tree line, it's best to be prepared.
While much of Nunavut lies above the tree line, changing environmental conditions, including thawing permafrost and warmer temperatures, are increasing the risk of tundra fires and their potential impact on communities and infrastructure.
Nunavut will now have more access to training and expertise with wildfire agencies and emergency management partners. Membership also ensures Nunavut has a voice at the national level. As the debate on Alberta separation continues, some Inuit are wondering what it means for them. Albertans will soon vote on whether they want to stay in Canada or start the process of another referendum on leaving the country. That could drastically change the lives of thousands of Inuit in Alberta and the North. Samuel Watt has more.
Tupana Kopik worries about what will happen to her family if Alberta pursues a referendum on separating from Canada. She's originally from Kalaalleq Nunaat, Greenland, but she's rooted in Canada. She's waiting to apply for Canadian citizenship and has bought a house in Edmonton. But she can't vote, and her immigration agreement is with the government of Canada, not Alberta.
We are around 3,000 Inuit living in Alberta. What happens to them? What happens to us?
Some Alberta residents who support separation say the rest of Canada takes more from the province than it gives. Others who disagree say they're Canadian first and are concerned about the rights of First Nations.
I stand with them because we as Indigenous people, we know how it is to be not listened to and not respected.
A decision to separate from Canada would also affect Northerners, including those living in the Kitikmeot region. Many travel to Alberta for healthcare and other services. People like Dennis Kaosoni, whose late father had to be flown from Cambridge Bay to Edmonton for cancer treatment.
We're so closely knit to each other, and it's great to be Canadian.
Meanwhile, Talojuak's Bob Lyle is about to escort a friend to Edmonton for medical.
All these ideas popped up in my head. Are we going to need a passport now if Alberta ever separates from Canada?
He says many Inuit have family connections to Alberta because of the history of Inuit and tuberculosis sanatoriums down south.
There's many Inuit who are buried who never did make it home.
As for where Nunavut's leaders stand, Premier John Mayne says he's on Team Canada.
I'm a federalist and I believe Canada is stronger together.
Cambridge Bay MLA Fred Peterson says he's glad the Nunavut government is monitoring the situation. He would like to see a contingency plan in the event a referendum does go ahead.
We might have to look at other provinces for our medical needs and things like that.
CBC News reached out to Alberta Premier Danielle Smith's office for comment. Their response made no reference to impacts for Northerners. Samuel Watt, CBC News, Yellowknife.
A massive wildfire in Wood Buffalo National Park is encroaching on a whooping crane nesting area. Whooping cranes are endangered, and there are concerns in nearby Fort Smith about how this year's wildfires could affect the flock. Forest fires are a natural part of the boreal forest, and species in the north do know how to adapt. But larger, more intense fires are becoming the norm, fueled partially by climate change. So what does that mean for plants and animals here in the Northwest Territories? I spoke with two GNWT scientists to find out. Thank you both so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
I'll start with one species in particular, and then we can kind of broaden everything out. But I do know that one species that has been impacted by intense wildfires is the red-sided garter snake, which had its habitat devastated in 2023. So I'm wondering, Joanna, if you could give us just a quick update on how it's been doing since that event.
Sure, yeah. There's a research project being led out of Thompson Rivers University looking at how the garter snakes are doing after the 2023 fires. So we've been involved in helping out with that. And yeah, I mean, the good news is there are still snakes there. Their den and a lot of the surrounding habitat was definitely burned. And, you know, we're seeing things like signs of predation, possibly linked to, you know, not a lot of cover on site. But also, yeah, we're still learning. That project's not done yet, and we're still learning really about what those impacts of the fire have been on the snakes.
So wildlife in general in the Northwest Territories and across the north and boreal forest has been coexisting and evolving with wildfire for millennia. Certainly changes in the fire regimes that are occurring and anticipated to occur with climate change may create some challenges if fires become larger, burn more intensely, or burn more frequently. And that will certainly have some impacts, both positive and negative, on northern species. Some of the long-term predicted changes in wildlife habitats with climate change and with wildfires, the potential for conversion from more mature and conifer-dominated forests to more open habitats and deciduous forests. And when you have large-scale changes in habitat like that, you're going to see shifts in the wildlife communities to wildlife that occupy those types of habitats.
Joanna, can you speak at all to what the shifts in species would look like if that happened and these forests underwent a significant change?
So I work quite a bit on bats, so I can tell you that when, in terms of natural roosting habitat for bats, they need big, old, standing trees and sometimes standing dead trees. So, yeah, so if we see shifts in the type of forest where those become harder to find, that could potentially affect their distribution.
Yeah, let's focus on bats for a minute. And by doing that, I'm actually going to talk about whooping cranes for just a second, because there is a big fire in Wood Buffalo National Park that's threatening the nesting grounds for whooping cranes. So if that situation were to happen to bats, for example, some of the species we have here, how big of a disruption would it be for their habitats, these dead trees that they use, if those went away and they kept going back to the same place every year and suddenly it wasn't there? What would that do?
Well, like Brad said earlier, all the species that live up here have evolved in this environment that naturally has wildfires. So that's normal. A species like bats and others that are really mobile, they might be able to move away from the fire. They might not necessarily be directly impacted by the burn. So then it becomes a matter of, well, is there still habitat elsewhere they can use? And over time, you know, where the place that burned will come back to a stage that's appropriate for them. Other species that maybe are not necessarily so mobile have evolved ways of either surviving a fire, by going underground or in like a little moist hideaway, or even if there is some mortality directly from the fire, then those populations can recolonize afterwards from somewhere nearby.
Are there any concerns right now or any species that concern you when it comes to these more intense and frequent wildfires that we're experiencing?
Yeah, I think in general, any range-restricted species or species that aren't mobile and can't get out of the way are susceptible to these, have these acute effects of wildfire. Certainly fire, it'll depend a lot on the time of year that it's taking place. If a fire takes place in a particular time of year when a species is calving or giving birth and you have young at vulnerable stages, that can be a challenge.
And are you noticing any differences? I mean, you spoke to differences of the land, but differences in species or the way that they're growing or adapting, just given that we've been having these really intense, frequent wildfire seasons?
I would say that a lot of these answers are still to come. Certainly the climate is changing and has been changing for a while, but there's a lot of research gaps, and our government, along with partners, conduct a lot of monitoring ourselves and support a lot of research into this, but a lot of the questions are still being answered.
In our conservation and management work, we're always trying to think big picture about what are all the factors that affect wildlife, and fire is one of them. When we're, in my job for species at risk, when we're assessing species and management planning and so on, we're thinking about that natural relationship with fire, but also about what might be different now and moving forward as the climate and fire changes. And so thinking about all the factors that a species is dealing with, including fire, and where can we, where can we act and maybe try and support. So for the snakes, again, as an example, this research is going on the impacts of fire on snakes, but we've also, through that research, learned that roadkill, it seems to be pretty big impact on that population. So now that's something we can work on directly, right? We can try and have an impact on that, while the fire is another thing that the snakes are dealing with.
So it's taking a holistic look at what we can do, but then also recognizing the wildfires around us as something that we have to deal with.
I think so. Yeah.
Exactly.
UConn's Gavin McKenna impressed NHL scouts and coaches this past weekend in Buffalo, New York. The young player was put through the paces at an NHL fitness test. The comprehensive multi-day evaluation is used to measure the athletic abilities of NHL prospects, and McKenna scored high in a number of categories. That's thanks in large part to personal training he received right in his hometown. George Moratis reports.
This is the grueling VO2 max test. It measures the maximum amount of oxygen your body can utilize during intense exercise. It's one component of the NHL Combine. The multi-day fitness evaluation went well for Gavin McKenna. The UConn hockey star ranked in the top 8 in 4 categories, including the top ranking in this test. Ben McPherson wasn't surprised by the result. He owns Northern Strength Academy in Whitehorse and has trained McKenna since he was 10.
I've known Gavin for a long time, and he just put so much hard work into doing this, and held back from going to World Championships so he could prepare for the Combine, and not just the Combine, but for next year. That's one of so important for him, and it's so nice for him to prove to the world not just what he's capable of doing on the ice, but also off the ice. He's put the time into, so just couldn't be happier or more proud.
In the lead up to the Combine, McPherson worked with McKenna for 3 weeks last month, helping to prepare him for the important fitness test.
For me, it's just, I did my job and created a framework, a physical framework that I felt like could support him, and, for me, it's a minuscule amount of credit all the credit goes to Gavin.
The NHL draft goes June 26th and 27th. It's projected McKenna will be the first player taken. George Moratis, CBC News, Whitehorse.
Some harsh winds hit Rankin Inlet, Nunavut early this morning, and they did some damage. Winds gusted from 48 to 77 kilometers per hour. A public housing building on Nuna Street in Area 6 lost some of its roofing. One of the residents of the fourplex says it was a frightening experience.
Our house shook, like the whole apartment was shaking, and I looked out through the window and there was all these stuff coming down, so I went outside and looked, and our roof was off, like it was coming down. The winds were really strong. They were just blowing away and everything was coming down.
Kalmuk says the Rankin Inlet Housing Association told them not to leave their unit until the roofing was safely removed. She says her and the neighbors will also be relocated to other public units for their safety. Now let's take a look at your forecast. And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. We leave you tonight with video of the Klondike Spirit in Dawson City, Yukon. Crews are doing their final checks and they anticipate welcoming the first group of passengers this weekend. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night